Everybody's got an opinion about trucking. Regulators have one, politicians have one, and companies, well, they're no stranger either. The drivers sure as hell have one right between that and the truth. And that's what we're looking for tonight. Because if we're all driving the same roads, maybe it's time we start asking, California says its crash data on non-domiciled CDL holders tells one story. The FMCSA says truck driver vetting and licensing integrity tell yet another. Okay, so let's assume the numbers are right. What does that have to do with whether we properly vetted each and every driver before we handed them the license and the keys? Everyone in the industry is spending a lot of time on different arguments. The legal side, the right side, the qualified side, all of it, a different side of whether there's a right to get the job. What about the right side? Crash statistics tell us what happened after somebody got behind the wheel. Vetting and training determine whether they should have been cleared to get behind the wheel in the first place. And personally, that's where I draw the line. Because tonight, I'll tell you what, the difference between right and wrong isn't merely just a statistic. If a CDL allows you to operate from California to Maine, then your identity, your training, and your driving history and all your qualifications should be verified under one consistent national standard. Let me know if you disagree with that. Because if you do, that's a conversation worth having today. It's my thinking that truck driver vetting shouldn't be political. So this show is dedicated to ask one simple question. If one CDL works in all 50 states, why should one standard, or why shouldn't one standard determine who gets it?
So let's clear the air and focus on what's important today.
Boss Man here, creating yet another conversation that helps make trucking great again. Covering the story inside the story so you can manage what matters on the road. Welcome back to Truckin City, where we talk about the stories that actually affect the people behind the wheel. Before we get started, be sure to take a moment, go down below, hit that like button, give this video more of a chance to touch more people like you in trucking today. It helps more people find this conversation than you will ever think. Tonight, we're looking at the question that should be pretty freaking simple when you think about it. Should driver vetting be really that political? California says its crash data tells one story. FMCSA gets up there and talks about licensing integrity and tells yet another. My position, better training, better vetting, and one standard that we can trust. So let's get into it. Let me tell you something. According to the analysis they're pointing to, and by they, I mean the FMCSA, some non-domiciled CDL holders had roughly, no, excuse me, wrong state. According to California, some non-domiciled CDL holders had roughly 20% fewer crashes overall. Think, okay, that don't seem right. Yeah, that's what they're saying, believe it or not. Trying to work out these graphics here. Okay, now. And about 25% fewer fatal crashes per licensed driver. California is basically saying if these drivers are crashing less, then where's the proof that they represent a greater safety risk? Well, recently I watched a video that kind of says what kind of partly I'm thinking, but I want to see what your opinion is as well. Somebody called DOT Cop. He also makes an important distinction about FMCSA's concern not being limited to just crash numbers. Check this out.
Concerns also include things like verifying driving history, confirming legal documentation, making sure states are issuing CDLs consistently, and avoiding what the agency has described as different standards during the licensing process. So while California is focusing heavily on just crash statistics and crash data, FMCSA has been looking at the overall integrity of the licensing system itself. If California's own data suggests that these drivers had fewer crashes during the years they analyzed, again, why is FMCSA still standing by all of its rules and procedures? And again, it's because based on all the information that's been made public, FMCSA cares more about just crash data. Remember, the FMCSA also has issues with how these drivers are vetted before they are given CDLs or before they go through the process of getting their CDL.
So it's obvious that this debate over non-domiciled CDL regulations isn't just about crash statistics. They're looking at how drivers are licensed in the first place, how driving history is verified, whether legal documents are valid, or whether training standards are consistent, and whether states are using the same processes when they issue the credentials as when they monitor if they're right. So right away, we've got two different arguments happening at the same time. California's saying, look at the performance on the road. FMCSA is saying, look, the integrity of the system that puts the driver on the road. So let me throw this question to you. Man, I'm going to get the comments in just a minute. If one group has lower crash numbers, should that by itself end the discussion about how they were licensed in the first place? Or should we go a different direction? So let's look at comments for just a second. And if you'd like to join the panel, simply click on the StreamYard link below, and we'll happily bring you in. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Sean, good to know you'll be in a few. I'll be looking for you. Honestly, there's a lot to it. It's either safe or it's not. How can you actually think about safety after the fact? Thumper, welcome in. Come on in. Give me your thoughts. If we're talking about safety, should we be thinking about it before, or should we be thinking about it after the fact? What say you?
Well, honestly, safety should be before and after. I mean, simple as that. I mean, the more that a person is safe in the truck, the fewer accidents they are. Well, the issue is that we have seen over time and time again, they rush people through these courses who've never driven a big rig before, and they're like, oh yeah, you meet the minimum requirements. Well, honestly, I think we should up the minimum requirements on testing them and stuff like that. Or it's really hard. I mean, because it varies from state to state. The testing in once. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you've heard me say before that the current standard of 160 hours isn't enough. I mean, What are your thoughts there?
You know,
I mean, think about it. What training do you really get with 160? Because it's based on ELDT. That's the American standard for driver training. And
yeah.
we've talked, I don't know how many times on different shows, you and I, about the fact that, well, training doesn't stop at the license. It continues with the first job you get.
Well,
So,
and I've always said if you're not learning something new in this industry every day, then you need to get out of it and find something else to do.
yep,
I've always
yep,
said that. I mean, that's actually not just in trucking. That is a life lesson right there.
exactly. Yeah,
Period.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like every state's different. Like I know the state Minnesota, which Minnesota West College, who does the CDL training and all the testing and stuff like that. They actually, the instructor that I know and the other instructors there, if they don't think you're ready, they're not going to send you out to go take the test. You
you're
know,
right, right,
that is
right,
one college that I highly recommend for people getting into the industry to go over there. And it's affordable, and you do one-on-one training with the instructor, and they answer your question. They're more of a mentor. The big word
sure,
right there. They're more of a mentorship than a trainer. You know, they want you to pass. They want you to know everything, and they go over everything until you get it. And then like you'll be out driving, and they'll randomly ask you a question out of the blue about trucking. You know, like oh, what you're driving down the road, or what do you do in the pre-trip? You know, something like that. They throw you off guard so you're not going through the motions when you go take the test.
right. Think about this. Think about the question that I have on the screen right now. And we've
I,
talked a number of times about um, my famous expression, one road, one code. You know, if one CDL works in all 50 states, why shouldn't one standard determine who gets it? I mean, think
well,
about it.
that kind
Wouldn't
that
wouldn't everything wouldn't everything be easier if we had one standard monitored through one source, not all 49, 48, whatever?
well exactly, and that goes to what Sean and I've been preaching about the last few weeks. We we can't go off of state to state because state is different, but yet our license is federal.
Right.
So and it goes to that question: how does state trump federal? It doesn't.
It shouldn't. I mean, whether it does or not is irrelevant, but it should not. It really
Yeah,
shouldn't.
it really shouldn't. But that's what it's doing. Every state is taking whatever they want to do
Yep.
and be like, nope, the FMCSA is wrong. This is how we do it here. Well,
Yeah.
if you travel in the lower 48, you're not going to memorize all lower 48 laws. There's just too many of them.
Yeah, there's way too many in place. I mean, let me reset for just for those who were just joining us. If you should venture into this live show and you want to join, we're talking about, the idea that vetting should be a national standard, that getting your license should be done through one resource. Fella well known on YouTube just came up in DOT Cop and just talked about the disparity between what California is trying to do with CDL vetting and their push with non-domiciled CDLs, talking about the fact that their statistics prove non-domicile are safer, which when you think about it is kind of a misguided representation of the truth, because they're looking at a small snippet of data that's available from a very narrow timeline. What they're talking about existed between 22 and 25. It talks about 3 years worth of a study that he did. And I'm going to have somebody come up here very soon who's going to talk about studies. And let me tell you something. You can do studies on stuff that will make something look like it's not very easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sean, you better get up here because I'm counting on you to back me up here. But studies can be deceiving no matter what way you put them. And that's what they've done here. Okay. They're painting CDLs for non-domiciles anyway to be something they're not. And yeah, it has nothing to do with what language you speak. It has nothing to do with whether you can read English, but it has everything to do with the way in which you're trained and the way in which you're qualified for the job. Go ahead, Sean.
So
Thumper, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're fine. So I mean, and honestly, in my opinion, when I sit there and look at the 160 hours, in my opinion, that's how long it takes for someone to uh, drill into another person's head to go through the motions and know what to say for the test. That's how long it takes them, that 160 hours, so they can start pushing people out the door. Because every time somebody gets their CDL through the college or whatever, they get grants and funds and all that other stuff from the government. It's all about money. It's exactly what it
Money.
is. I see you doing that. It is all
Yeah.
about money.
That's
So
exactly what it is.
that's why, in my opinion, that's why they have the 160 hours, because the 160 hours we could drill the necessities to pass that test in their head. That's
Yep.
how long it will take us. Well, if you
Yep.
treat it like a normal, work week, 40 hours a week, that's see 40, 80. Yeah, I mean that's 4 weeks right there. That's your
Yep.
schooling right there. 40 weeks. Yeah, 8 hours a day. Blah blah blah. But like I said, there's that college that I talked about. They don't care how many hours it takes. They're not going
Yep.
to let you go take the test until they feel comfortable enough of you being able to do it on
So
your own without them having to drill it in your head.
yeah, so with all this stuff that they're pushing out, and Governor Newsom is responsible for all this publicity. But with all the stuff they're pushing out, let me ask you: should lower crash rates carry more weight than concerns about how somebody was trained?
The answer to that one is hell no.
Well, I mean, because
I
that's the way they're pushing it, and that's the way
yeah,
the
no,
publicity is going.
that's exactly what they're doing. The lower crash rate. No, a crash. It doesn't matter how many crashes there is. I mean, yeah, you get in a minor fender bender. You and I kind of look at it like, it's a fender bender, whatever. But when you put other people's lives in danger, that's kind of where I have an issue with it, and they're trying to blow it off like, oh yeah, they don't have no. When those guys generally get into a crash, somebody dies.
Yep.
A good example,
would-
we were just talking, this happened
Yeah.
a few months ago. The U-turn on the Florida Turnpike.
Right. Okay.
That still is being talked about today.
Hmm.
He
Very true.
he unalived 3 people, and they're
Right.
gonna, and the people, the FMs or whoever is doing these, they're trying to brush it under the rug, but we're over here still talking about it because it is important in the industry.
Yeah. Uh huh. So, what matters to you more in terms of what we're talking about tonight? The driver's actual record, or the confidence of knowing that it was issued to him under a good or otherwise fraudulent system? What do you think about when you look at drivers other than yourself? When you're sitting there at a truck stop and you're thinking about, you got to start your day, you got to do your pre-trip, you got to get going, and you've got a driver on one side, you've also got a driver on the other side of you, so you're surrounded. You've got what are you actually thinking about whether or not, dude, I wonder if this guy's had a crash before? Or are you thinking about, well, gee, I wonder if he was trained by a reputable school? Are those things even remotely going through your mind at all?
No, honestly, I'll do my pre-trip or something. If there's a truck next to me that looked like it been jacked by, if I'd be like, yep, pardon my language, yep, that's a fucking idiot right there. I'm getting the hell out of here. Like,
I mean, but
then again,
you're actually thinking about unass in the area because you don't want nothing to do with him, right?
Exactly.
Think about it.
And I mean, the truck I drive. I take a lot of pride in my truck. And granted, I don't
Yeah.
own it, but I still take pride in it because it makes me money. I keep it clean. I do this, I do that. And you've known me for what, 2 years? How many
A little
times
long-
have
a little longer than that.
a little longer than that? How many times have you caught me? Because I know you have me on Life 360. How many times have you caught me sleeping at a truck stop?
Not very
Very
often.
rarely.
You're usually sleeping at a location, to keep it. You're
Yeah,
usually the customer location. So yeah,
because I don't want to wake up in the middle of the day because I sleep during the day, drive at night. Or if I do sleep in the night, I don't want to wake up to someone tearing the front end of my W9 off. There
yeah.
was one night that I did stay
You
at a
like
truck
your
stop.
bumper.
Yeah, there was one night that I stayed at a truck stop, and I literally just pulled the parking brakes. It was a paid for parking lot. It was the whole lot. You had to pay for parking.
Okay.
Watching some Netflix or whatever, winding down from my day,
Right.
and all of a sudden, I literally get thrown out of my bed. Somebody backed into me. They're backing in behind me,
Oh
and
wow.
so I hurry up, threw my shoes on, and I come out of the door, and he's driving away, and I'm chasing his ass down the fucking road over it. He's like, "Oh no, I didn't hit you." I'm like, bullshit, dude. You threw me out of my bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Surprise.
know, and I know this is a little off subject, but since we're talking about the truck accidents and stuff like that, that's a reason why I don't park in truck stops, because I'm actually scared that my equipment's going to get damaged, and then they're sitting there saying, "Oh, we're going to throw more money at parking." Uh, yeah, so more people can have their trucks wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a reason I should believe that.
It's just there's one thing in this industry that very few people have, and it's common sense and the lack of
Right.
respect.
Yep. I definitely
So
agree with that.
it does. It irritates the living shit out of me. Oh, we're gonna give somebody who can't read or write English, and we're gonna throw them in a truck.
Yeah.
Okay, what about our unemployment? Why are we bringing people from overseas when there's a bunch of people in the states here that are collecting unemployment because it's hard for them to find a job because Mr. Abu over there will do it for $1.50 less than I will.
Yeah. 10 cents on the dollar, right? Yeah. Well, let me get on to something about crash data I think is kind of pertinent to our argument. Okay. A good driving record does not prove the licensing process itself was good. Crash data tells us what happened after someone got behind the wheel and made a mistake. Vetting should tell us whether that person was properly qualified before we handed the keys to him. Now, for me, the licensing integrity starts with the applicant, not the political argument around the applicant itself, but proper vetting should measure the person, their identity, their training, their driving history, and their qualifications all in one, and whether or not the information they provided can actually be verified. Then and only then can we start and properly train. So instead of arguing over which group had better numbers, as in whether California is right or FMCSA is, why aren't we asking the bigger question? Shouldn't the standard for earning a CDL be consistent everywhere you look? Because look, at the end of the day, what we want, what should matter more when issuing CDL, past crash data. Fine, I get it. Or or are we more interested in the confidence that the driver was properly trained and vetted to begin with? Because think about it. All other attributes be damned. If we agree that vetting matters, then we've got everything figured out. If we don't, then we got another problem. Who exactly should be responsible for guaranteeing that what we're putting behind the wheel is actually the right choice? Where does the buck stop? I'd like to know from you in the audience what your thoughts are on that. I mean, because honestly, if a CDL is valid in all 50 states, shouldn't that qualification to get behind that wheel also be the same in those all across the board? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thumper, what do you think? I don't think I'm crazy for expecting that, standards be the same all over. I mean,
Well,
what say you? What say you?
we were actually like literally just talking about this. Every state shouldn't have a say in it. Our license is federal, so we should be federally regulated by one governed occupancy or whatever you want to call
So
it.
what's wrong? What's wrong with the system now? I mean,
Well,
why is it not federal? Why is it I got to go to North Carolina to get my license and you've got to go to wherever you go, South Dakota or whatever?
Because every state is every state's different. And I've had DOT officers say, "Well, that green book means nothing. This is how we do it."
Hell, I've had some panelists to say it's nothing more than a suggestion book. If he'd ever show up, he could tell us why.
Well, exactly. He's a good one too that brought it up the other night when we were sitting backstage. We are federally,
Right.
Our license is federal. So
It is.
why do we have so many different rules for different states? Why does California get to dictate what New York is doing? And why does Florida have to dictate what North Dakota is doing?
For what you're saying, what I personally find disturbing is the fact that all California has to do is bitch about one thing. And you get people like DOT Cop making a video, just like we watched, and the next thing you know, it's being debated in Congress.
Yeah.
That's what's insulting to me, because they have such an influence on what happens. And yet we, as the people behind the wheel, in the rest of the other 49 states, are powerless. We have no control over what goes on. Talk about pissing me off. Go ahead. Start that subject. Hopefully Thumper didn't lose his signal or it didn't blow his doors off.
Oh,
there he is. Now I can hear you.
There we go. Anyway, no, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but you're probably not going to believe it. All of California is bad. It's major cities that San Francisco, Sacramento, fucking Los Angeles, and all that, the ones who are making the rules.
Pretty much.
That's the messed up part. It's because the electoral votes or however, I don't know how the government works.
Get me started.
I really don't
get me
care.
started. Electoral votes have nothing to do with our CDL, but I mean, I respect where you're going, Thumper.
No,
I mean,
but
it makes sense.
It in a way it does, because they have more people in Congress than say like North Carolina or North Dakota or Minnesota, whoever. But that's the issue is, it literally in the government, it's who has the bigger dick to swing is the easiest way to say it.
That's a hell of a way to put it. Yeah.
Well, it is.
Definitely.
It's like, like you don't hear anything about Rhode Island a whole lot. You really don't, because they're so small.
I was gonna say, what the hell has Rhode Island got to do with this? I mean,
yeah, no, I'm just saying, the ones who actually have common sense that probably do agree with like you and I and Sean and all the other panelists on here, they don't have a say in it because they're so small that they're outnumbered. Is kind of what I'm getting at. That's why it is the way it is, and every state is divided, is because nobody can agree on anything.
No, they can't.
And that, the rule book, the green book, I don't know how thick it is, and it keeps growing, and then every state has their separate one. You know what? Wipe everything out and start over. That's the only way it's going to get better.
Don't you wish you could do that with every politician in office today?
You know what? I am going to challenge you on that, and your viewers. If you are sick of it, you as a voter has a right to do that.
Well, that's true. I didn't think you were going to go there, but yeah. I mean, the problem is everybody watching this video, and I think even to a greater degree, everybody just living a life in general. I think we tend to take the passive approach of thinking, well, somebody else has got our back. Somebody else has got this figured out. It's not my problem. My voice ain't going to matter that much. And I think that's 90% of the reason why nobody does anything. Nobody says anything. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm here to prove to you, without a doubt, there are a group of people out there, okay, that are currently looking to fight for you. You might not know much about them in the background. Well, let me tell you something. I've been introduced to them. Now, let me introduce you to these people, okay? They're not here to speak for themselves, but I'm here to speak for them, all right? And this is who they are. They are WeTheTruckers.com. All right. They are a rather independent and small group of truckers who have taken it upon themselves to craft their own website, WeTheTruckers.com. And what's on there? What's on there is very helpful resources. If you want to know about some of the initiatives that are directly affecting truckers today, go to WeTheTruckers.com. You can pull up stuff about your local congressman. You can look up by state. You can look up by area, by issue. You can find out the things you need to know about by going to WeTheTruckers.com. They've made it easy to find. And there's more stuff there I'm going to highlight during this week. So I encourage you, keep tuned to Truckin City Media, because I'm going to walk you through during the week what else is there. And another fellow who's correctly representing, I think, the masses of drivers and trying to do a very good job at trying to whip together people on a regular basis and encouraging them to stand up for yourself. And that's Vince with Truckers United Now. You need to pay more attention to these kinds of organizations because they are there on the front lines fighting for you. I've just come from a meeting. I've come from very passionate drivers, many, not just a few, but many drivers who want freedom in trucking, fairness in trucking. We want what's ours, what is rightfully belonging to us. And you know what? The only way we can get this is if you join with us, if you become part of the standard of fighting for what's right. Okay? Not to cut you off, Thumper, but I wanted to I wanted to make it known that, I mean, unless we say something and unless we actually get involved, we really have no right to bitch when things go wrong. So
no, and you're absolutely right, and I'm gonna add a little bit to that. It doesn't cost you a dime. All it does cost, the only thing it costs is your time, your passion to help us move forward with all this stuff, to make trucking great again, to do like Boss Man's saying, one road, one code. It starts with a small group of people, and if we keep doing what we're doing, it's gonna grow, and our movement is gonna be shown, and it's gonna be heard.
Everything starts small. Everything starts from one place. And yeah, I mean, it just, all it takes is one. And from there, one becomes two becomes four become 8, and so it goes. It's just that simple. Yep. So good point.
Exactly right. I mean, I don't know if you kind of noticed, I've actually been pretty passionate about it tonight, and that's because I've been talking to Sean a lot lately off air, and he's really opened my eyes on a lot of stuff, and I do want to get behind him because there are stuff out here that I would like to see different.
And I'm kind of disturbed at the fact that you're not here, Sean. You're talking, but you ain't here walking with us. Now, come on, get your butt on my show. That's all I'm going to say.
But no, like, that's what it is. The respect is gone. There's so many rules, and it's just for somebody getting into the industry,
Yep.
the turnover rate in this industry is so bad because people get overwhelmed with the laws, how it
Yeah.
works, and everything else, and that's because people are not out there teaching them the correct way to do it, how to manage your time, how have that
Oh.
mentorship out there that I always push. You
And
know,
that's the other thing. That's the other thing I'm going to be focusing on in coming weeks. I mean, I think that's very important as well. More and more people need to think about the younger generation and think about some of the people that are basically what we're going to be leaving behind. I mean, I think in a large way, nobody thinks about that anymore, and
no,
that's yeah, it's really a shame.
they
It really is.
they really don't. Like, I mean, a good example today, I helped out a very young kid. Like, he didn't know how to set his reefer. And I helped him out. It's like, yeah, this is how this works. It was the same reefer unit that I
Perfect.
have,
I'm
and
glad you brought that up. I got
well,
something to bring up after you get done talking about that. Keep going.
yeah, I mean, he was so confused, and he was trying to get a hold of his company, and nobody was answering him. And
Right.
I put my fuel in my truck, everything. I pulled forward, and I walked over. I go, well, what's the issue? He goes, I can't figure this out. I got to be at -10 for my next load, and I got to load in 3 hours. I said, well, 3 hours I do it 3 hours before my next load. I pre-cool the trailer to whatever it needs to be. And I walked him through how to run the Thermal King unit. And he's like, oh, that's pretty easy. Nobody showed me how to do this. And I'm like, well, and he tried giving me money for it. I was like, dude, don't. I go, just learn. That's all I want you to do is learn.
So let's
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry, technical issues.
no, it's not a boss man show if there's no technical
If there ain't
issues.
at least one, exactly, right? Yeah.
But that's the thing. Sean has said it too. I'm sorry. I am kind of discriminate out here when it comes to helping somebody back into a spot or something like this. I mean, if you're gonna rush into the parking lot and try stealing a spot from somebody or steal a spot,
Yep.
I'm not gonna help you. Because
Exactly.
but if there's
And
somebody sitting there trying to back in that's been fighting it for like 10 minutes, I'll get out and be like, hey, this is how you do it. I mean, there's at docks, I
okay.
back people's trucks in because they couldn't get it, and they go, well, how'd you do it so easy? Like, and I kind of cracked the joke. Well, I used to be a boo hauler. Oh,
Yeah.
what's a boo hauler? I used
If
to haul livestock.
yeah. If anyone ever had a doubt as to whether I was prejudiced against other races or other nationalities, this will prove I don't. I ran into a couple of days ago somebody that had some issues, and they were the end result was they were improperly trained. Okay, and to make matters worse, they also had a language problem. So, I mean, if you run into the normal person and you run into the situation I ran into the other day, you'd probably be like, well, that ain't my problem. I don't have time for you. And you'd probably walk away laughing. But me, no, I actually sat there and looked, because what it is I went through a fuel island, got my fuel, pulled it forward, and then I was going to walk into because I was out of Love's. So I walked into Love's, get my fuel receipt, and then come back out. Before, because I always walk around the back of the truck first, kind of do a walk around and that kind of thing. But as I walked up, this guy had his foot open. He pulled in behind me, and he was sitting there, and he was just intently staring at his engine compartment, and he flagged me down. I couldn't understand his, I could tell he was Hispanic, and I couldn't really, tell what was going on. But he made a gesture to me. He wanted my help, and I was like, no habla español. That's all I know, right? So he takes his cell phone out, and he does the gadget on the phone. And yeah, he does the gadget, and he says, what he says, and it comes up and reads, can you help me locate where I put the oil in my truck? That's what it said on the screen. I was like, okay. So I showed him and pointed it out to him. I didn't say nothing to him, but I kind of gestured to him, to fixed a thing so I could speak to him. He knew what I meant. And I said, dude, it surprises me the company hires you and puts you in a truck and they won't show you where the oil filler is. And he read that in his language and he died laughing. He was like, see. I was like, and it just surprises me. You know, you're going to train somebody to drive your $125,000 rig or whatever, you know, with God knows what the value of the cargo that you've got. And you won't even show them something as simple as where to put the freaking oil.
Yeah.
That tells me you haven't even trained the guy or even relied on what kind of training he has to get the job to begin with. What the hell is going on here? You know, I mean, I didn't say nothing to the guy. I kind of helped him out, walked away, and, you know, left it alone. But it just amazes me that we're putting these kind of people behind the wheel. And yeah, I mean, great. There's tech there. There's ways of, you know, talking Spanish to English, English to Spanish. What if that were an emergency? You know, I mean, this could have gone 1,500 ways. My word.
Yeah, I mean, it is ridiculous that, and that goes to the whole thing that the industry lost respect. We've lost the brotherhood. It shouldn't matter the color of your skin, the language you meet. I mean, yes, we're in America. Everybody shouldn't be able to speak decent English. I mean, I stutter and I have a, you know, and I speech impediment and stuff like that. But, you know, it's,
well, everybody has their gifts and everybody has what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
To
and,
answer,
you know,
some miracles, your question, what we're talking about tonight is just the simple idea that, you know, vetting for CDLs should be a national standard. I mean, that's the basis of what we're talking about tonight. Because, I mean, obviously, Thumper and I covered a couple of circumstances where, you know, obviously, based on what we've said, you know, people aren't trained the same. People are not
or
being
at all.
put through, or at all in some cases. Good point. I mean, you know, it's really questionable. And then you've got this selection of people that are trying to pass off. And I got a couple of backstage guests, get you guys in a minute. They're trying to pass off that, well, you know, everything is not as bad as it seems. So yeah, you go, well, we got a number of people in California, but our studies say, yeah, BS.
You know,
and that's what really drives me nuts. The studies don't prove anything but what you want them to prove, and that is what drives me nuts. Let me bring up my backstage guests so we can give them a chance. I'm sure they're chomping at the bit.
I was going to say one thing while you're bringing them up. I want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
So the way I kind of see it, and I'm not trying to open up another can of worms there, Sean.
You're probably gonna.
I know it's going to, but you know, the other day we talked about autonomous trucks and driver shortage, and we think, you know, they're creating a driver shortage. Well, this is a good example of them creating a driver shortage is by not training them properly, so they don't know what to do, and it makes us look bad. And you know, like, oh, hey, we need drivers who actually can do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I wanted to add to that.
Sean, you go ahead. Add what you feel and tell me what you think of tonight's show up to now.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, they always do the old magician trick, right? You know, and I call it that, you know, the rabbit in the hat trick. When we're looking at one thing, they're doing something different. Just like the driver shortage. You know, they've been trying that for years to say that we have a driver shortage. And why is that? Well, you do that so you can keep the rates down, right? If there's 1,000 trucks in one spot.
Why is there a shortage? Because we have a study that proves it.
Well, and then you have Sam Graves coming on there and he's saying, hey, you know what? Next year we're trying to only move 7.5 trillion pounds. Well, then you take the 7.5 trillion pounds and you start competing it over what we've done over the years. No, we actually are we have slowed down, right? If he's predicting 7.5 trillion pounds, that's a low number. I mean, that's
I don't mean to sound like petty petty in the numbers, but I think what you're talking about is 7.5 million tons. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, which then you take that poundage, and that's 7.5 trillion pounds.
Yeah.
So a truck can haul 80,000 pounds. Now you divide that out of it, right? Most of the time, and then we look at these numbers that they're asking for.
Yeah.
Hey, let's move up the weights up to 91,000 pounds. For what? Unless you got something in the industry coming in that's weighing heavy.
What was the one study you pointed out that said, and I think you and Vince went back and forth on this one time about how it would make a difference of 2 loads? What was that? I mean, can you recall that and remind me of what you were talking about then? A difference of 2 loads a year?
Oh yeah, so it'd be 22 loads with the what he's trying to say that extra that he's coming in at. So it's 22 loads. So if you take 22 loads on the average person, we know guys that's been sitting for days at a time. I mean, ask Thumper. He can tell you how many times we sit. We sit all the time, even on the flatbed market. That's actually even on a hot commodity, right? We still sit.
Right.
Just it depends on that zone that you get into. So if you put 22 extra loads out there, now we can bounce, right? Now let's say we go to Phoenix. I always tell everybody, if you're a flatbedder, Phoenix is where you want to go. You take for freight to sit because you're not going to get out there too easy. Florida's another one, right? It's a place where you would send a truck to go to sit on the flatbed side. Reefer can get out of there and all that stuff with in certain parts of the year. But if we had 22 loads on an average on a person, now you can kind of bounce out of there and actually get a good rate. But if you keep it knocked down and saying we have a driver shortage, that you assume all that up. Now you can keep the rates down. Everybody's trying to, I'll take this load because I need to get out of here. I need to get that backhaul back. And backhauls to me is just another term of, hey, we're going to screw you. You're not going to get what you want.
Exactly.
So
Semi-Core, I'm going to bring him up in just a minute. But I want to cover. I want to cover one. Go ahead, Thumper. Go ahead, Thumper.
So I was to say to go to the sitting part to go to Sean's right there. I unload on Sunday and I don't reload until Tuesday. So and the freight to where I'm going it's really bad right now. So I don't have a choice but to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's not figuring that into it, right? He's figuring it in. Oh, we got these trillions of thousands of pounds, that needs to be moved. But he's not looking at what is actually really happening in the industry. How many trucks are actually sitting for these days? How are they getting out of there, and how's their backhauls and how they're bouncing it? So, to me, if you gave us those 22 loads, I think truck drivers would start getting that fair wage that we're looking for, right? You get that money up. Anytime there's a demand for something for trucks, we see it go up. Now this year we can't really predict it off of it. This year's a real hard year to predict because it's election year. They always bring it up every election year. You can go back into history for known to mankind that every election year it goes up because they want you out there working, they want you happy, and they're trying to get you to get their vote. So, and if you're happy, you'll vote however you want them to vote. So, I think these are things that this year, 250th year of our of the United States, I think we should start holding the guys accountable and start watching, start looking, researching, and saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to put up with it anymore. We've been doing it for 250 years. The trucking
Corey, hang
industry.
on 1 second. I'll kill your mic here in just a minute. The commenter says, screw how much the truck costs. This is why we don't want them in our trucks and are untrained and dangerous. That's why I never helped them. I kind of see why you're saying that, Some Miracle, but I got to tell you, honestly, that is a very dangerous mentality, just simply because of the fact that, it only takes one. And I don't mean that anything against what you're saying, but I only mean that from just the simple fact that in order for you to expect change to take place, you have to be partially what that change is. Okay. What I did earlier and what I described earlier, I walked away from that experience feeling like I'd actually done something. And as much as I agree with why you say what you've said and why you put the comment down here that you did, I understand why, but I simply ask that you look at things from the perspective of being that new guy, being that one guy that's sitting at that fuel island that had never been shown whatever it is that fellow was asking me for. And wouldn't it be so nice if in that someone took the time to help you and give you the opportunity that I never had? That is simply where I'm going to leave that. And to that, I'm going to go to Semi Corey. Tell me, what do you think of tonight's discussion so far?
All right, so on the first, I got like on all three topics. Like the first one where you were describing the guy that didn't know how to put it in its own oil.
Mhm.
I have noticed that a couple of carriers, they don't teach their drivers how to do that because they don't want their drivers to do that. Because the way it was explained to me is it becomes a liability because what if that driver puts in the wrong oil or doesn't do it right? Then the truck is down. That's why they don't want drivers doing it. Have a maintenance guy do it.
Right.
Second, to me, that whole California safety survey, I mean, it just seemed the numbers don't make sense. I mean, how are you gonna compare 600,000 non-domiciled drivers to 69,000 non-domiciled drivers, and then say these are the numbers to prove a point when the numbers are just so lopsided? It doesn't add up to me. And as for what the hell is that clown's name that said, "Oh, I got to move all that tonnage of freight"? So he said, how much was that? How many tons of freight that he has to move?
So if you look at it in poundage wise, it's 7.5 trillion pounds. I broke it down into pounds. I remember what he said in tonnage, I think he said like 6 billion pounds when you do the math of it. If you break it down into pounds, because they always want to scare you with these big numbers, and you'll notice we'll always say this one thing only. What's the difference between a million and a billion? Just about a billion. That's what it is.
And that raises the next question. He's saying I got to move 6 billion pounds of freight next year. Well, how many billions of pounds of freight did we move last year? And
last year we were up.
Increase.
Yeah, so last year I think we were at like 9.8 trillion pounds is what we actually moved across America. So we're actually having a big decrease, right? And this is easy to figure it out, right? You got data centers that are kind of slowing down out of the flatbed market. You look at our commodities from vegetables all the way down. Most of them now are actually kind of keeping greenhouses closer to the areas, right? So we're not shipping those big ports from California. We still have them, but not like a massive amount of them, because now communities are getting more efficiency with doing greenhouses that are closer by. So you lose that market out of it, right? So I can see why we were having a decline on tonnage and tonnage not being moved across America. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring up
Makes
the checking your oil stuff and everything again, you know, it is a DOT offense to not have your window washer fluid filled up, so you need to know where that stuff is at.
Oh,
You know,
I
and
agree.
then and
Oh, yeah.
there we've had this topic before where, like, what is it, Walmart, I think it is, they don't let you open up the hood on the truck. So if you're out of window washer fluid and you get pulled in for an inspection, well, that falls on the driver now.
Yeah.
You can't look at them and say, well, my company doesn't allow me to open up the hood. It don't matter. You know, there is stuff in your pre-checks that you have to check that is under the hood. So you have to open it up. You have to know where that stuff is at.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But it goes back to the poor training and company regulations, which are stupid.
Well, and it also has to go by. My thing is now truck drivers nowadays and this current market, they're ran like spreadsheets, right? They actually have sensors on there that'll tell you, hey, your oil's getting low, right? They're going to start sending you back before you even know it, without even checking your oil. If you didn't really want to check it, they're going to start sending you back to the yard to get that oil change done, or they're going to send you to a place to get it done. You know, the truck has so many computer devices in there that says, hey, your filter's starting to plug, and you can actually see that from a computer in their office.
Everything is being piped through telematics now.
Absolutely.
Every sensor. Yep.
I keep saying that, you know, they want to complain about drivers doing pre-trips and looking underneath the hood. Well, you got to get the spreadsheet out of there. Let's make truck drivers and not companies running the truck driver. You know, nowadays any person can really get behind it.
But with that, the quality of what we're taught and what we're trained to do has to increase. I mean, almost by 1,000%. Would you not agree? I mean, because what the average person is shown to become a truck driver, never having done it before, it don't work. You can't do it.
It doesn't.
So I've been doing a study right now, right? We talked about it earlier today.
Funny that you mentioned studies, right?
You know, well, so if we look at the how many times an accident is occurred by mechanical failure, right?
Right.
And we pulled the research all the way back from 1903, I think is what it was, or 1905, when horse and buggies were out there. You know, when we've seen it come all the way up, you know, and how they're using like states like New York and North Carolina, Pennsylvania, that you actually have to get your car inspected before you can put it on the road every year, right? So if you look at these studies and they're saying, hey, you know what, mechanical failure is about only 5% of accidents. When we look at the numbers of how many American people do it, 5% is not that bad, you know? And that's of all accidents, right? So, I mean, they want to push this big number to say, hey, you know what, mechanical failure is here, but you got to pull out that big number and divide that in between it. I mean, 5% of that's not really that bad for mechanical failures. And most of these mechanical failures, you almost got to have a study, like you were saying earlier, in another live or in a meeting. You're like, you know, the FAA comes in and they actually do a whole study. You know, we're getting local police officers that are they qualified enough to train to look to see what they're looking for.
Well, the point that I was making was that, I mean, you talk about an aircraft disaster and a federal agency like the NTSB comes in, but you get one wreck like the one that happened in Austin, rather. The NTSB is nowhere around. It's just the local bureaucracy taking their, you know, measurements and doing whatnot, and next thing you know, it's, you know, manslaughter charges. Give me a break. I mean, come on, no comparison to two where they should be. You know, if you have an accident with a truck on a major interstate and you kill multiple people, there should be there should be a federal investigation. And that's what I was saying on y'all's live. That's what should happen every time.
Absolutely, I agree.
And see, there's another flaw in that, because like with that Austin accident, I mean, they charged him with manslaughter. They arrested him for manslaughter, but at this point, that doesn't really mean anything until at least until the grand jury, because just because they arrested him for manslaughter doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be indicted for manslaughter or indicted at all. So what is the grand jury?
You're slicing issues, because what I'm pissed off about and what I think needs to change is not the manslaughter charge, because honestly, I think manslaughter is just way too weak. I mean, I think it should be first degree murder. Boom. End of story.
Not to interrupt, but somebody's got some major feedback. Just saying.
Talking about in the comments?
No. I think that we're echoing through somebody's speaker.
It's probably semi. I wouldn't be surprised, but
yeah.
Actually, I'm sitting in my room with my laptop, so I let me turn off the microphone and see if the feedback goes away.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, it's not driving me too batty. It may be you guys, but speaking of comments, let me catch up on them. Psalm Miracle says, I know where you're coming from, and yes, I would have helped an English-speaking American driver think you're thinking I'm speaking and I'm not willing to help. I wasn't really thinking that, but it's just the tone of the comment you put down. I just wanted to clear that up. So no harm, no foul. But I mean, I think basically the message I wanted to deliver is change starts from the person wanting change. And that's basically everything. It's just like what we're talking about right now. Okay. The only way in which these accident scenes will be treated differently is if someone like myself looking into them, the voice is my concern, you know, and really the only way I could really affect that is if I became a district attorney and worked somewhere, you know, when something like this happened. But besides that, it really it doesn't get lost when you actually state something someone else may hear about, someone else may agree with it, someone else might understand, like you do about the point we just talked about, a different perspective. See, it's one thing to think it, but it's another entirely to hear someone else echo the same sentiment. So that's where I'm talking about, and that's where the change
Well,
starts from.
the,
So,
the the moral of the story is we sit here and preach, and it's not just us on the panel. It's everybody I talk to that's in the industry. We
yeah,
talk about brotherhood. Okay, how
yeah,
do we bring back brotherhood? Helping each other out. It shouldn't matter your language. It shouldn't matter your
yeah,
you know what, your race. It shouldn't
right.
matter. If we want to make the industry better, we need to start working together.
Right.
That's
Sure, we
the
got a
pretty
comment
much
on
the
screen. Did you
moral
want
of
to
the
address
story.
that? And
Yes.
I've got
So
somebody.
that's what they're saying, but we actually pulled what Sam Graves is saying, right? So when he was in front of Congress, this is what he pulled out, that it was going to be the numbers where he came off of. So I mean,
Someone
you
named
know,
Everett is trying to join
maybe
our
he messed
panel.
up, maybe he didn't, but I can tell you that's what he said in
Yeah.
on national TV when he was talking in front of Congress. So
Well,
that's where we came up with the number.
if you go back a few lives, Bossman has a clip of exactly what he said. Just saying.
In regards to what?
The poundage, right? That's what we're talking about. I guess I can't read that comment.
Yeah, that's what he's hitting
Oh,
on, is the 11
Yeah.
point what did
Yeah.
he say, 11.6, oh, 11.2
I don't know.
billion
I
annually.
don't know what the commenter is referring to, but I do know what you and I talked about in our meeting tonight. So that 17 number was accurate to that, but I don't know what this man's referring to specifically. What you're talking about, Thumper, was just the tonnage overall that was being discussed on an annual basis.
Yeah, that's
That
what
was
Jonathan's
something
saying.
completely different. Yeah, that was something
That's what he's
completely
talking
Yes.
about in the comments, is the
okay.
last time I looked, it was 11.2 billion tons annually by truck, and that fluctuates a little bit, right? You
It
know,
could.
so
Yeah, you're right. It
and
could.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like I'm predicting that you're going to see those numbers come way down, because that some of the stuff in the freight that's coming up, you know, to the end of it, you know, yeah, right
Right.
now, yeah, and if you look, uh, what's happening in America, right? So right now, airports, right? If I was in a flatbed division, I'm looking
I'll
for,
get
or a
that
step deck.
comment here in a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna look in for what airport to where I could run my trucks and make money on, right? I look for data
Mhm.
centers that are being built. I want to point my trucks towards them data centers. So you got to stay ahead of the game and see what actually is being moved. And you know, next year, what are we going to have? You know, if data centers start coming up, wrapping them up. If we have a lot of our produce not coming all the way across country, it's going to start coming into you know, individuals. So I mean,
Yeah.
these are the things that's going to create that number to drop dramatically, or it's going to make a spike. You know, I look at
And
Pensacola.
the other unknown is what they're trying to do with automation too. So that's another unknown.
Absolutely, and in Pensacola, right? I haven't seen it yet, but Pensacola is supposed to be getting a shipyard where we're going to build our own ships here in the United States. But have you seen it move? I haven't. And how much is that going to influx the trucking market? So I always try to see what's coming down the pipeline to see what, if his numbers are actually matching, because you know those are estimated numbers. So,
Yeah, they are.
but and what I'm seeing is a lot of stuff's coming dry. So is that going to be 11.6, 11.2 billion tons anymore, or is it going to be on the lower side?
Yeah. Let me address one thing. This comment down below. I want to make something very clear, okay, and that's, you know, I don't condone any malice of thought. When you're driving a truck, you are totally and 100% responsible for yourself as well as the lives around you, because you commit yourself to doing a professional job in a professional way. And you can sit here in the comments and you can tell me all day long, legally speaking, we can't say first degree unless it's premeditated. Well, I'll tell you what, when you think it through and when you think it carefully, if you wish to get into a truck every day and make thousands of dollars every week and literally hundreds of thousands every year on the backs of a company that don't care about you and don't care about the company or of people around your truck and the customers that you service every day, and you do it with the malice and forethought that you don't care who you train, how well you train, the people that operate the equipment that represents you, then as far as I'm concerned, you're premeditating the murder that hasn't happened yet. So I fully understand where you're coming from in the comment you're giving me, but don't cloud the issue, okay? Because if you want to stand behind the idea that it's less or more of something, understand what you're doing before you commit to doing the job to begin with. I've been standing on a platform of we need better training and we need well-trained and well-qualified individuals, not people run through CDL mills and just handed a set of keys because you call yourself a quasi truck driver. No, that's how people die. And that's how people's lives get turned around in 2 seconds flat on the Florida Turnpike because you can't read a sign. And that's where I'm going to leave. I'm going to move on to one other thing because
hold on. I wanna add something to what you said, and this is a real
do
life
too.
experience that I went through.
quickly.
So about 3 years ago, I was in a really bad wreck, and what it was training and quick thinking on my part. I come up over a hill on Christmas Eve. It was foggier than heck out. Should have I been out? No, but livestock, you run, you run. Well, I
Yeah, you
come
have
up
to.
over the
Yeah.
hill. I pushed my brakes and I started sliding. And before I knew it, all I saw was red lights flashing. What it was is there was an accident in front of me of a family, and there was a fire truck sitting right in the middle of the road. Those are the lights I thought I saw. I tapped brakes again, started sliding, and a quick decision and the training and everything else that's been drilled into my head, I took the truck into the ditch. Boss man, you have seen those pictures. How I walked away from that wreck is beyond me. But that's
Got a
training
guest in
right
back.
there.
So got a guest I want to introduce. So
Yep, that's training right there. That's the difference between life and death when it comes to stuff like that. Is you got to be quick on your feet.
You do.
I just want to add that.
Yep. Thank you for doing that. I get somebody new. I've not seen the name, so keep the profanity down and welcome to the show. Let's hear what you think. Introduce yourself, new guy on the panel. I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Hey, what's up? Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you perfectly fine. Welcome to the show, my friend.
All right, good. Hey, brother, what's up? This is Psalm Miracle. This is the guy who I couldn't really fully explain myself because I was in the comments. So I finally was like, you know what? Let me get on here so I can actually explain it.
I like it. Welcome to the show, then.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Now,
certainly,
the way I'm coming about it from the perspective I'm saying is now to this day, I don't really help them because I look like it like this. It's almost like enabling an alcoholic.
Hey, there you go.
It literally is. If I'm sitting there giving an alcoholic drinks, knowing damn well they're gonna still get behind the wheel of a car, they have a potential chance of killing somebody. Well,
they do.
Me being a trucker, an actual professional trucker, an actual trained trucker, if I'm sitting there enabling these non-speaking people, foreigners, etc., then
Okay.
I'm enabling them to continue to do their job until they do take that 80,000-pound vehicle, not knowing how to fully operate it, so
Okay.
on and
So
so
hearing
forth,
what
and
so
kill somebody.
hearing what
You
you're
know?
saying. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Hearing what you're saying, are you telling me that my act of kindness was wrong, or
No.
what?
No.
What?
No. I'm
Okay.
saying that your act of kindness was actually cool because I used to be the same way. I used to like and
I
tell
just wanted to be sure because I
no,
didn't know
no.
how you were describing that. So yeah.
No, and and I don't think I don't think you saw the other comment that I said. I said I have no problem helping my American brothers at all
No,
whatsoever.
no,
So
I
yeah,
didn't see
no,
that. I
it,
mean,
like
all the comments were accounted for, so that must not have
yeah,
come up. But
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
So if it was like, I mean, I've done it multiple times and I still do it to this day. Like if I see a new driver out here and he can barely back up and he's having a problem, this and that, I don't give a damn. I'll sit there for an hour and I'll help him back that truck up. I don't care. But
certainly.
when it comes to these people who I know are non-domiciles and they're possibly a high chance of possibly being, not fully certified in our industry and they're just out here messing up our rates, etc. I'm not going to do that anymore. And I
So,
haven't been doing that
But
anymore because
so who do you blame? Who do you blame?
you know what? I don't my here's my thing. I've always been taught not to point fingers. If you point fingers, you may as well point one at yourself because there's obviously something that you're not doing enough of to allow it to have gotten to the point where it's at. That's how I look at things. So we're all a bit to blame on it because either we weren't fighting against it hard enough when it started, or we're not fighting against it hard enough now that it has started, or no, now
Semi,
now that it has become where it is.
So,
You know,
Semi,
hold
you
on.
want to add?
Yeah, let me.
You
go
want
ahead.
to explain? Yeah, Semi, go ahead and explain the comment on screen. Go ahead, please.
We
You're
can't hear
muted,
you.
buddy. You're muted.
Sorry. That's another thing that really reinforces that, if we work as drivers, if we work for a company, say anything Swift, Knight, even Super Eagle or Hurricane, like we as drivers have a due diligence to represent our company as well as ourselves in a professional manner.
Correct.
But with that being said, the companies that we work for, they have a responsibility to represent themselves on their best behalf as well as the driver's behalf, and they have to represent themselves in the best possible way.
Right.
And I think that also comes into showing where driver training comes into a big effect, because say if you're a carrier and you got a driver who doesn't know how to check his own damn oil, what does that say about you as a carrier?
Well,
Yeah.
in my perspective, if I was the carrier, if I knew my driver wasn't trained from A to Z, I wouldn't put him out there by himself anyway. In the
That's
first
why,
place.
and that's why I
Period.
keep saying, that drivers.
no way in hell. So I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Don't don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You can be the most. You can be the most. Look, I was trained very, very well. I was trained very well.
That's
But
old school.
once I got out there into the real world,
Right.
the only thing I needed help with, I didn't need help with my oil. I didn't need help with my pre-trips. I didn't need help with nothing. The only thing I needed
Everybody.
help with what every once in a while was,
Yeah.
can you help? Can you
Everybody.
spot me? Can you spot me? And can you
Yeah.
help me back up? That was about it.
So
Everybody
who
starts
again?
from somewhere. So go ahead, Sean. I know you want to add to that.
So
Yeah.
Sean,
So,
in that perspective, I would say you blame the courier. But if you have a courier who's operating illegally and doesn't give a damn about nothing other than
Yeah.
making money, which is
Yeah.
most of these foreigners, you're not going to give a damn
I'm
about
not
having
gonna.
them trained.
Not gonna say just foreigners, right? I'm gonna say Warner. I'm gonna say Swift. I'm gonna see
I
CR
definitely say
England. I'm gonna
Warner.
say Knight. Yeah, all these guys, right? They
hang
know
on.
everything.
Hang on.
They are running their company like a spreadsheet. You're not even how many people actually, if you ever work there, they actually know you by name. They know you by truck number. They know you by a number, right? Then they go over to the spreadsheet and they say, okay, truck 725 needs an oil change, because they have a sensor on that truck showing them when that truck needs to have an oil change. It shows them when you have a low air pressure tire on there. It shows you if the transmission needs to be retrained. We're ran like spreadsheets. And for the way you're saying, hey, I was trained this way. Well, yeah, we all were, right? The old school guys were, before they had all these electronics, but now they have all these electronics into the truck. You need a warm body in that thing steering it down the road, knowing how to get it to point A to point B. And that's the sad part. We have allowed it, you know. The old school truckers said, hey, you know what? We're giving up. When the ELDs came in, they said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to put up with the game. Every time something is thrown at an old school driver, that gives them an excuse to say, hey, I'm out of the business. I'm out of the industry. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And we talk to old school drivers all the time. And they say, hey, you know what? I wish I would have stood in there and put my foot down and made change, because now this is what we're dealing with.
Well, Sean, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's a matter of the fact that the old school drivers are just walking away because they see this stuff that's becoming more innovative, or do you think it's just the fact that we don't have enough old school drivers to compete with billions of dollars worth of promotion and telling society how much more greater it's going to be if this truck has this safety feature and that safety feature and this safety feature, blah blah blah? I don't really, in my eyes, I don't think it's really on us, because we can't compete with the kind of money that they can utilize to shove in the media's face and to multi-millions of people and make them feel safer.
Well, I think it's a compound of both, right?
I mean, do you understand what I mean, though?
Well, old school drivers are leaving the industry because of regulations pushed down.
No. I'm not. We're not even at the regulations. I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
I'll get there. And then
give him a second to answer.
All right, so if you take an old school guy, right, that knows how to shift his gears and everything else, and then you say, hey, you know what, we're going to put you in an automatic, now we're going to put you in these sensors. I don't want you to change the headlight, right? I don't want you to adjust your brakes out on the road, because we're going to do that as a carrier. How does a driver that has been in the industry, that knows all this information, is now supposed to be dumbsized by the technology that's in it? So, yeah, absolutely. I think the technology, and this goes for, even if they don't work for a mega company, if they try to buy a newer truck nowadays, because most of the old school drivers, they have enough money saved up to go put down $300,000 to buy one and drive it right off the lot. They don't want that technology. They said, hey, I want to be able to listen to the motor. I want to know when it's going to tell me what I need to do, because that's the driver. Nowadays, the technology is around us. You can't say, hey, I want to buy a truck with no technology in it. You're going to buy what they're going to sell you. So that's another reason why they're dropping out. So
the thing I'm trying to ask you, so let's say if all of us old school drivers had, okay, let's say they have $20 billion to promote their technology on the trucks, things of that nature, whatever. And old school truckers like us had $20 billion to promote, hey, fuck the technology, learn your truck. Always be fearful of your truck. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of the accidents that are happening on the road with us truckers right now is because we have these younger people out here who, because I was always brought up to, I don't care how good you get at, at driving your truck. You always keep a fear of it.
Okay, one question. I see where you're going, Sam. I understand totally. My question is this: what happens to the business?
Which one?
The business. I mean, everybody in this conversation has forgotten one thing, and that's the business of running a truck. You're talking about being a driver for a mega carrier. Again, a mega carrier is running a business, and they're trying to service a customer. And you, as a driver, are trying to service your customer. Who's your customer? Your customer is the mega carrier you're working for. And then beyond that, you've got the owner-operators who are trying to work for the carriers they're trying to work for. everything comes back to the business. And
Yeah.
you've got to show profitability, and you've got to show the sensibility of knowing how to run the numbers sufficient and well enough to be able to get the business done tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, see, it got into this conversation, but me personally, I was more or less talking about why
Well,
I don't
the
deal
reason
with
I brought
like the immigrants and the
Well, the
people who
reason,
can't speak
and
English.
I'm
That's
glad
what
you
I was
mentioned
talking
that.
about.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the reason I brought it up is because I don't think, personally, this is just my opinion, and I may be wrong, and strike me dead if I am, but in my opinion, when somebody is attracted by influencers on TikTok and every other Instagram post and everything, when they're attracted to the trucking industry because of the money they can make, they're not told about the risks of running business poorly. They're not taught and they're not trained on the art of getting the next best deal, of what it's like to run for 89 cents per mile versus running for 69 cents per mile, of knowing what the cost per mile's advantage is today being what it's going to be in another 10 days when the cost of fuel goes up by 15 cents a gallon. They're not taught the intricacies of what's necessary to survive. It's one thing to be shown where to put the oil in the engine. It's another entirely to be shown how to maintain a maintenance schedule to make sure your engine doesn't blow up tomorrow. But if you don't know how to run a business successfully and know how to calculate what your cost per mile is, to know whether you're losing money or making money, then frankly, you're just as good as the person who's handing you the keys and saying, good luck.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit on a different perspective of where we were kind of
Yeah, he just changed it
speaking
all to a whole
about.
other topic.
Yeah, that's a whole different
Right?
topic. That's a whole different topic. Because to be honest,
kind of
because if you to be honest, most of these people when we speak about foreign carriers, non-English speaker, you have to understand. Those most of them are they're not driving for the mega carriers, they're not driving for American carrier, they're owner operators. They're either a sale of an owner operator or they're an owner operator themselves. So they don't
most
have
of these guys are fly by night. They're working for a major guy,
yeah.
and they've got their own MC number, they've got their own DOT
Yes.
number. And honestly, they're not going to last 10 seconds. Honestly,
That's why I went to that point. Look, I'd rather stop enabling these guys, teaching them what they should have already known before they jumped in the truck, allow them to fail. I don't want them to go out there and kill nobody, but hey, you know what? I might help him. You might help him with his oil today.
Perfect.
But he may not know how to do the rest of his pre-trip and still go out and kill somebody the next day.
Perfect segue for me to get into my last segment. Don't go anywhere. Do not leave. Stay right there. Let me tell you something. When it comes down to it, okay, throughout this debate over vetting, I've always maintained one thing, and you've heard me say it. If you've been watching my channel, one road, one code. This is a discussion that highlights exactly why I think we need that very philosophy, not only in trucking, but in transportation. If a CDL works nationwide, then the standard behind that license should be also nationwide. Now, government involvement is always going to be problematic. More bureaucracy usually means more paperwork, more delays, more opportunities for somebody to screw something up. But if there's ever a place where procedural improvement makes sense, this is one of them. We should be pushing for better training, better vetting, and uniform qualification standards, and one authoritative source on truth. That is, by all, every standard. I just, full stop. That's what it is. Because I don't want one standard in California and another one in Florida, and yet a separate one in New York, and everybody confused in the middle. Everything we talked about tonight basically highlights that. Not when every one of those drivers can end up beside me on the side of the road, causing me to worry about my family who might be behind me or in front of me.
Yep.
One road, one code, one standard we can all trust. We're talking about one national CDL standard, not different qualifications, but standards depending on one thing, and that's where the DMV is issued and where the start and the end. Everybody gets the same thing. Maybe we're working off a preset factor of fears. Maybe if every state used one system, would that system reduce fraud and reduce the mistakes and maybe take away from some of the things we're talking about tonight? Or could one bad federal system create more problems? What do you guys think? Let me know.
I think.
So first off, let me, if I could have the floor for a second.
Go ahead,
First
go ahead.
off,
Go ahead, Sean, you first. Go ahead.
yeah. So first off, it is one standard to get your license, right? You have to pass a parallel park, an offset. They've changed that now to where that's standard. So when we're talking about to get our CDL, that is a national wide. It's all same. Now,
But you've got 48, but you've got 40, well, 50, really, 50 different people or 50 different state provisions
all
that
the same.
say whether
That's all
you
the same
pass
now.
or not.
That's all the same. That is all the same. So anything with
Okay.
parallel parking to get it, what we're missing is once you get your CDL, right? So when I trained, I trained from a permit and got their CDL, right? What the part we're
Right.
having the lack in is once you get your CDL and you get into that truck, that mentorship that we keep talking about or whatever, that's where the part's lacking. I think to get a CDL, that part's there. I mean, you got to follow what the state says to get your license. Does that mean you drive for 15 more hours with the CDL school? I don't think that's really where it's going to be at. You need that on the road training, and I think that's
Right.
that is where we're lacking at, because I think it should go once you get your CDL. Now you got to go out with somebody for 3 months or 2 months and have that physical behind the wheel with qualified trainers to train, because to get your CDL, anybody could do it. You know what I mean? You're just teaching them how to offset, parallel, and do a
Do
straight
you
line
think
back.
that's where? Do you think that was maybe where we should improve things? Because I mean, I have not
For
known
sure.
of anybody to offer training beyond just getting CL.
Perfect. That's why I think where we're lacking in our industry is once you get your CDL, that training, is where it's crucial at. That's where most people, it's like taking a baby and teaching it how to walk, right? I teach it how to, when it gets to crawl, I stand the kid up and then it starts taking its first couple steps, right? That's a CDL trainer, right? Now we need somebody to actually hold his hands around and walk it. And that's going to be the person that is going to be training and teaching you how to go up the mountains and how to do that. So if we were to try to do it in training at the school level, you would almost have to have a place where you have the perfect area. So you could only do in California or Oregon or Montana where there's actually mountains, Tennessee, but South Dakota's flat. I can't teach people how to go up a mountain. You know what I mean?
And then there's an avenue that Thumper has talked about quite a bit, and that's beyond that, mentorship. I mean, Thumper, add your 2 cents in.
That's where it's at. That's what's lacking.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, you do need that person. I'm going to ask this question here and then continue what I'm talking about with the mentorship. Bossman, how many years have you been driving truck?
15 years.
Sean, how many years have you been driving truck?
1 year underneath him. I'm 14 into it.
Well, Corey, how many years?
I got about 4 years in so far, licensed.
Okay.
Tom, we haven't met you. How many years you been in?
24.
Hey,
there you go. He's the lowest now. 4 years.
So I've been in the industry for legally 15 years, and I grew up on a farm, so I've been driving truck for over 20 years. But the moral of the story is like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have many people that I can call personally, and if I have a question that I can call and ask, and they're there to guide me in the right direction. It could be 4 o'clock in the morning, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, it could be 2 in the afternoon, whatever. If you have that somebody there that is willing to stick by your side, answer your phone call when you have a question, and guide you in the right direction, no matter how long you've been doing it, That's a mentor right there. Someone who's like, well, you went through your training, you should figure it out. And I am guilty, I will admit it. I am guilty for doing that because there are some people out there that I have trained that I've tried to be a mentor to, but they would call me every day with the same question. And after a year of telling them the same thing every day, you're just at the point where you just throw your hands up, be like, you know what, dude, figure it out yourself. Is
Maybe
that
this isn't for you.
well? And I've said
Well,
that
and
before, you know.
yeah,
But the
and
moral of the story is you need that person. It don't matter what you do in the industry: livestock, reefer, flatbed, hopper bottom, tanker.
every
You,
business, every business.
everyone,
Yep.
Mhm.
specialty. You need someone in the industry that you can call whether you have a question,
Yep.
or if you're really confused on doing something, where they could walk you through it over the phone because they have the experience to do it.
Or at the very least, relate to any problems or issues you have. Let me,
And see,
let me,
I
let me,
totally. Can I get an word in on this? And I totally agree with all of the different types, but we also gotta look at the elephant in the room. It's not really any specialized um loads that are actually being involved in these accidents. These are just pretty much regular either reefer or just dry van. You know, these are literally people who are just being given the keys. You know, she said, hey, this is how you turn the truck on. This is how you go straight in a straight line. This is how you're supposed to turn it. All right, go ahead, go out there and get on the road with everybody. You know, so I mean, because if it was fuel or something like that, it'd be a hell of a lot different. I've hauled all. Um,
yeah.
but now, Sean, one thing I do like that you said, that I didn't really think about at the time until you actually brought it up. When you asked me who we should actually be blaming for this, just right now, when you were making your statement and your point, just right now, I was like, you know what? I don't like to really point fingers at anybody. The only people, if there's anybody to be pointed fingers at, are the people who are actually issuing and allowing the clearances of these licenses,
The
which
government.
is which
The
is the
government.
government, which is the government.
Yep.
You know,
Period. So you can't
and
blame the companies, you can't blame the trainers, you can't blame
You
anybody.
can't blame
This is
the
our own
drivers.
government.
How many
This is
live
our
shows have you been in? How many live shows have you been in when I've said that the government was the major problem in this? I mean, I've said it,
I
and I know
haven't
many other
I
live
just
shows have said it. So,
I don't know if you I don't know if you remember your first show, or the first time you ever saw me comment on your show. That was my very first time I ever seen your show, and I've been intrigued with you ever since. And I started following you
well, I
since.
appreciate the
I
compliment,
don't
but I don't
know. I don't
remember
even
the
know how
show
you
you're
popped
talking
up.
about.
I don't
I
even know
don't
how you
remember the
popped
show
up.
you're talking about.
I told you it was the government's fault the whole
No, I would
time.
have to say the government.
okay, yes, you could blame the government and everything else, and I'm sorry you guys are gonna jump me on this, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
Give me 3 seconds.
But
1 second.
it could be the government's fault that it's happening and everything else, but the real people to blame on is ourselves for letting it happen and not speaking about it sooner.
I'll go back
No,
to
we've always
Bossman.
been
I'll go to
speaking about it.
Bossman's. I'll go to Bossman's part of it. You're running a business, right? At the end of the day, what are you trying to make? Money. It doesn't matter if you can. If somebody told me that you blow on a spoon, if it fogs up, they're able to drive. You know what I mean? You need a human being in there. When
Yeah.
you look at the
A pretty
accountability,
interesting way of putting that.
when you look at a truck, right, and you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm losing insurance money that I'm paying for it to sit. I'm losing maintenance costs when it sits. I'm losing money when it sits because I'm used to making this much income. So when you have 4 or 5 trucks, 6 trucks, 7 trucks, I always like to say at that 5 mark, it's real easy to play with. But if one truck goes down, I have another truck to recuperate to make that money. Am I really looking for a driver that says, hey, it can run it? Not at the moment, dude. I'm thinking, hey, I'm gonna throw a guy in the seat. He's gonna run his butt off, and then maybe I'll fire him down the road. And once I get the money to build this other motor, you know what I mean, to get it back on the road, so then I can put somebody else in it. There's a lot of things that people don't look as a business, because a business has to be profitable.
Hey, but
Profitable
Sean,
is where it's at.
But Sean, here's the thing. But at the end of the day, whether you're putting somebody in that truck to get you through that time of you being in your downfall, that person still had to get a CDL to be able to operate the truck.
That's why I blame the government.
So if he got that CDL illegally, he only could have gotten it illegally from the government. So it still falls back on that. We're employing people, but we're not issuing them their licenses.
Yeah,
Let me
that's
take my
100%.
show.
You can't blame
my
the
show for
driver.
a minute.
You have to blame the system.
Yeah, let me take back my show for a minute. First of all, thank you, Jonathan, for the comment. I appreciate that. I
Don't worry,
hope
I'll get it
you
back.
take a moment and become a subscriber. I thank you for doing that. Semi, do me a favor. Take a moment and describe what you just put on the screen there. I mean, that seems to be your way. You comment, run your mouth, and then you have to explain yourself. So by all means.
Yeah. So I think we need to have like a 3-stage CDL system.
Well, that's interesting.
Kind of like
You explain. You explain.
For example, you when you go into the electrical trade, you go through the school, then you become an apprentice, and you move on to a journeymanship before you can become a licensed electrician.
Yep.
Right.
I think we need to have that same standard because, as Sean was saying, a school. All they're going to teach you is the basics.
Right.
And
How would you
and then the
implement that?
mentor is going to start giving you that road time to break you in. So I think that the mentor that's breaking you in as a student driver needs to be certified. Needs to be a certified mentor.
How would you go about implementing that and actually making sure that was followed through? Because I mean, actually, you're kind of bringing me into the next phase of this part of the show, where I was going to say, in keeping with my bring solution side of every show that I do elaborate. How would you guarantee that would actually benefit not only the new drivers but those in need of help? Think about it.
Don't mess this up, Corey. Don't mess this up. I got you if you mess it up.
So when you go through the school, you learn the basics because that's all the school can teach you. Because as you were saying before, a school does not have an ideal location to teach you everything you need to know in trucking. In fact, nobody could teach you everything you need to know because you're constantly learning throughout your career. But by having, like, for an example, mega carriers sponsor schooling for a lot of new CDL entrants. And then
thank you. Appreciate that.
After that, you go into a truck with a mentor for your student driver process. And then after that, you transition to your own truck. And I think that's a good system if it became a standard, and we have a standardized way to make sure these mentors are properly trained to train new drivers so that everybody could benefit from that.
Right.
I agree with you.
Can I say something else?
I think there needs to be a schooling for a school to be for a trainer, right? You should have, a couple years underneath your belt. Then you go through a school to relearn how to train, right? And here's the thing. I was a trainer, right? And I was an instructor and got their permit, right? And I noticed 1 to 5 years, believe it or not, are actually one of the better trainings. After 5 years, we start getting bad habits, right? We stop checking our oil. They stop thumping on the tires. They have bad habits that they're going to pass along the line. That's why the CR England took it like a little too close, and they're like, hey, we're going to give them 6 months, but because you're learning together. But 1 to 5 is about that time to where you're actually still learning, but you have enough knowledge to teach somebody else. Once you get past that, you're not looking in your mirrors every 8 seconds, and I guarantee you, right? So we play around every now and then, and we pull out the CDL book to get your CDL. And I would have guys that were like in the business for 10 to 15 years, 20 years, and we would pull the questions out of the book, and you'd be surprised how many people that were in the after 5 years couldn't even answer the question of what, when do you take your low beams, or they couldn't really actually pass their CDL test again. To be honest with you, they'd get 7-8 questions wrong.
Simple questions escape them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But 1 to 5, they could actually still answer the questions and actually nail them on right. So I mean, When you're doing the training, I think you're right on the 3-step. I've always said that. I think it should be like an A, B, and C, but I think it should go by years, right? So if you're 1 to 5, you didn't have any accidents, then you get to go to the next license, right? And that would be, you can kind of run your logbook how you want to run it. You know what I mean? And then after you hit the next, dude, and no whole barn, dude, it's all you. You know, if you mess up, you're the one you're doing the crime, you're doing the time. So I mean, I've always said there should be 3 steps for sure.
And see, and I think, and
go
personally, here's what I think is really the problem right now. There isn't a 3-step system anymore. Because I can tell you right now, like I said, I've been in it for 24 years, and when I went to my when I got my CDL, I'm gonna tell you like this: I stayed in a classroom, just learning the writing or not the writing portion, but the reading portion of it, the air brakes, blah blah blah. I sat in a classroom for a month doing that part, and then I did another month just learning how to operate the truck. That was even before I even did the road test and was even allowed to go on the road and even drive it.
What
Arizona.
state did you try? Okay.
Arizona.
Because in New York they had a 75-75. Because back when I trained back in 2012, it was 75 hours theory and 75 hours range. That's how they split it up.
Hell yeah.
That was 160 or 180, right?
Yeah.
180 hours.
And that's the point I'm making. It's like that's what is actually probably missing nowadays. Because when you got these CDL mills, you got to understand,
dude.
These guys are showing up.
Hold up. Time out. Did you not catch one of my earlier lives where I said that's not enough? I'm talking about they need to make it 300 hours, dude. Because I'll tell you what, I got the 75 that I told you, and I didn't feel like I got enough.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, so I did what I did.
Yeah.
I spent a month doing one thing, a whole entire month. Like my shit ended up being like 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. I'm pretty sure that's over 300 hours. so
Yeah.
But
did you went to the company? You went to the company for that, or was that something the state required?
But the point I'm making is, even after I did all of that, 4 months, I still got on the road and still felt like, damn, dude, there was a little bit more I probably should have learned about this truck before I got out here. Now, you got to understand, these new people, these people who are now being put out here, these guys are showing up one day, giving them $500, fake testing, and they're just getting put in a truck.
Yeah, but I don't think I could teach. I don't think I could train. I don't think I could train anymore. 3-week class, out of the book from a permit, and driving and training in the field. I don't think I could teach anymore better. If you're not going to get it in that time, you're just not going to get it. It's a flunk or fail, right?
No.
Once I get them out of that, they go in with a mentor.
Wait. Time out. Am I hearing you, Sean, correctly by saying that you disagree with my 300-hour assessment?
Well, what I'm saying though is I think I could train somebody in less than 100 hours, and then the other 200 goes with somebody that actually is going to take him out on the real world. Show them when you back up into a dock, getting their paperwork, the whole 9 yards. I don't think you can really.
So then there's more to it than just learning the material. It's actually assessing whether or not the person's got what it takes.
Real life situation.
It's pass or fail. Literally, within literally. So I have 300 and something.
I'm loving having these lives because
I have over 300 people.
But did you hear?
I've been trying to say something for a minute.
But boss, did you hear how I explained my class? Did you hear how I explained? I said we did a month of the training course as far as the test assessment, all of that stuff. Then we did a whole entire month of maneuvering the truck. Then we did an entire another month of driving it out in the actual road. So now
here's what I think everybody's missing. Okay, and I've got
and then you went with a trainer afterwards.
Right. I purposely I've kind of played the devil's advocate here and let you guys go, but and this is where I think Thumper is about to launch out on me here. So indulge me a minute. Okay, it's one thing to insist that this state do this many hours, and I even said we need more hours, and I still stand behind that. We need as much training as we can give. We need, but here's the thing: if as an instructor or a inspector or someone who is actually going to sit there and write on a thing, pass or fail, we have to be able to ascertain within ourselves that the person we're putting in that position that we're saying passes or fails is capable of the job. It's abundantly obvious that a number, in the millions that have gotten the CDLs, they clearly don't know what they're doing. And I've said, and still in this show, I say, one road, one code. Well, that's not just a slogan. That is a standard. That is a statement. And that what we need to do is we need to make sure people know what they're doing. And I think that's you could talk 300 hours or 150 hours. Be Sean's position or mine. It doesn't matter. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't need to have the fucking keys. Plain and simple. Thumper, go ahead.
Just pass or fail. When I get a guy that comes in,
real quick.
Hold on. Thumper first. Go ahead, Thumper.
Oh, I was just gonna finish what I was trying to tell you guys.
You can.
Okay. The one thing that made it a difference with me in my training that I think we also need to go back to, I think it needs to be one trainer all the way around. He's the person who trains you is the person who assesses you, so on and so forth. Because how is you just putting another person with that person going to fully be able to understand that student that they've been dealing with? So that's the one thing that helped me. I was with one person from day one all the way until the end. Period.
Right.
So that way he was able to actually. This dude knew when I needed to take a shit. Use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it may take a little bit more time, but obviously it produces more safer drivers, and that also goes for your one policy program, boss. One CDL, one standard. Well, guess what? One trainer as well.
Yeah. Thumper, I've got you up on two places, so you tell me.
Sorry, Thumper.
It's not the Avatar one, it's the other one. There you go.
Well, either way, say your piece, man, because I know you were dogging it a minute ago.
Hold on, I gotta reset. Just give me 2 minutes.
Go ahead. These damn technical difficulties. Go ahead.
I hit him with that one standard and reset his whole entire thing.
No, what I'm getting at is to teach somebody how to do a parallel, an offset, a straight line back, and how to unhook, how to properly maneuver around with a truck. It don't take long. Literally, within the first week of me and actually being out there, I can tell who's going to make it in the class. I can tell you who's going to struggle in the class. I'm going to tell you, this dude was born in a semi. His mother's mother obviously was a truck driver, and he's just been around it. He can just pick up the gauges and naturally see how a truck runs and can feel it. You can see people like that. I got 300 students.
Sean, we heard from somebody who was physically born in a semi truck.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah,
but
so I have 300 students. Hold on, I have 300 students.
One person at a time, please.
I got 300 students underneath my belt. 300 students underneath my belt. They're on Facebook. I use them. And you know how many's had an accident? I've had two. You want to know what one was? The wind blew him over. He was hauling cattle pod, and I told him, I said, hey, you should never do that. I said, that's pretty much, unless you have the courage of saying, hey, I can handle this, you shouldn't do it. He had an accident, and I had one that came back from Somalia, came back, and he was out of the truck for 6 months because a family member died, and he was over there taking care of that. 6 months later, he jumped back in a truck, and I told him, I said, look, go down a back road. Don't go right out the gate. Get familiar with yourself. And he came out, and he took out a light pole. Our 300 students have had 2 accidents, and we still continue to this day communicate on Facebook. I also, in their first year, got a phone call from the state if one of them got into an accident, and I would have to tell them where they messed up. So I was held accountable. Now, I think if we look
That's
at
awesome.
training, can we hold more people accountable and say, hey, states, if you're going to allow somebody to be a mentor,
Yes.
now you're going to take a responsibility in that accident because you did not let that person go out qualified? Absolutely. I think there's some
Yeah.
adjustments that we could do, but I still believe in you can only teach so much before you say, you
And
know
that's
what,
what
it's a
they would
pass
do.
or fail.
And that's and that's what they would that's what they would do in my situation. There would be probably about 15 of us, and then out of us 15, whoever was doing the best, that's the person, our mentor picked who his best drivers were in class, blah blah blah, and that's who he would vouch for. But here's my thing. Yes, you did that. That's very good, man. I mean, 300 people at one point, at one time, that's good. But see, even though that personal situation ended up being a success, I still don't equate that to the norm. That's an anomaly in my eyes, because when you got when you got billions of people on this world and you only got a class of 300 that only had two accidents out of that class of 300 by being taught that, because you got to look at it like this. Tom Brady would never have become the quarterback he became if he was jumping from coach to coach to coach. No, he became the quarterback he became because he was being coached by that hard ass Bill Belichick that whole entire time. That one coach that never complimented him in practice. So I think one-on-one, especially when lives depend on it, it may take a little bit longer. It may take a little bit longer. You may make a little bit less money because you're not pumping out as many students as you want. But you know what? When people's families and lives depend on it, it's okay to take that a little bit of time and get a smaller class and do one-on-one. That's my opinion.
If you've been with my show long enough, you know what I'm about to do. So I'm just going to simply say this. I'm going to give two people the floor, give them last moments, and I'm going to say it this way. With this conversation tonight, what it really comes down to is trust. All right? If a CDL works nationwide, then the training, the vetting, and the qualification behind it ought to mean the same thing in all 50 states. That doesn't mean that more government is automatically better. But what it does mean is that the system should be consistent and it should be verifiable and worthy of the responsibility that we place in every single person that gets that plastic card and does the job. Now, that being said, you just turned your camera off, sucker. I was going to go to you. Semi, give me your parting thoughts. You got to unmute yourself, brother. Always a technical difficulty. Here, let me see.
Yes,
I agree
with a lot of what was said today. I mean, we do need more training. We need to have a stronger standard, whether it be the government imposing it or us in the industry imposing it. But we need to have a stronger standard for training, and and just a stronger commitment to the industry. And we need to concentrate more on showing the best of the best in this industry.
It's simple. I mean, the better we treat the people coming in, the better the people coming in will treat those behind. So I fully agree with that. Good way to leave that. I certainly thank you. And Saw Miracle, what say you on this?
First off, I just want to say I appreciate all of you brothers' services. We're all professionals here, whether you've been in it for a year, 4 years, 2 years, 20 years, myself 24 years, 24 years, because I was doing some under the table stuff, just like I think it was Dumper who said he was. I think we need to start. I think the government, for one, and the industry needs to start not only treating us, but holding this industry of drivers as what they call us, professional. there's a reason why we're called professionals, and we have that commercial driver's license.
Yeah.
That commercial driver's license is to, I mean, because there's been multiple times where I have led people through storms, which I'm pretty sure you guys have, so on and so forth. You got a convoy of cars behind you. That's what we're held of. We're not only just drivers. We're also helpers at times. We're also lifesavers at times.
It can be anything and everything all at once.
And I truly think that the industry needs to start recognizing us American drivers as what we are, which is professionals.
Professionals in every single word.
We need to be recognized as professionals. They need to stop treating this as an industry, because you got to understand, if you work in customer service and you mess up, you might get a paper cut, you might delete somebody's account, you might mess up with somebody's financial money, but you know what? If we mess up, we kill tons of people.
Hey, that says it right there. If we mess up, it costs a life. Exactly.
So if you got 20 years in this game, 4 years in this game, and you have not had an accident, you ain't killed nobody. That's because you are a professional. These people can barely control their four-wheelers.
I ain't no professional.
So
you'll get your bark in a minute there, Dumper. Just hold your shit.
I got major love for everybody. Appreciate this conversation 100%. I think we all agree on one thing. We all want these roads to be safer with us, and we want to be involved with less accidents on the road.
Well, Sam, I appreciate you being part of tonight's show. I it's not every day I have a new face up here, but good word said. Sean, what do you think? I mean, when it comes to professionalism and doing the right thing, one standard, what say you? Sean, hello.
There we go.
I guess.
I said you should. Are you sure you want to answer that question? I think what we really need in this industry is self-regulation, right? We know the problem is people that are creating the standards, creating the rules, are government officials that's never even sat behind the seat, right? So how do we tell somebody, hey, we didn't train you right? How do we look at somebody and say, hey, you weren't taught right, when the people that's making the regulations have never even been trained, but yet they're the ones that's setting the standards forth? And 100% I agree. Standards is what we should be setting as an individual, right? You can't hold the foreigners, as some people call them, or the illegals accountable when a system that was broken. And now we do this every single time, right? Every time the government messes up, every time they break something, oh, they're the victim. They're the victim. Oh my gosh, we didn't even see this, right? They're the ones that created it. And until we understand that they're not victimized anymore, that this is our industry, we protect it, we make the rules, we're going to set standards, we're just falling into the game that they're playing. So I think, honestly, if we start doing more research, we open up the books, we find out what's going on with training, right? Like I said, the training on the level of school part, that's all set one standard. But where we're lacking is mentor programs. We're lacking the standards of saying, hey, you got to have 1 to 5 years before you can train, not 6 months, not 3 months. But we set these standards. We go to the FMCSA and we say, hey, we want to be self-regulated. That's the answer to your question. But however, can we get that done? I don't see it.
Tell us about We the Truckers.
Yeah, so you can find me on We the Truckers. You can find Vince. You can find a lot of great advocates on there. Boss Man's on there as well. You know, this webpage is designed for you to get the information that you need to talk to your congressman and send these letters out saying, hey, we've had enough. Well, we're against autonomous. You know, if the industry is going to bring autonomous in, we want them coming in safe, right? Just like we allowed foreigners to come into this industry and we were blinking an eye, we're going to do the same thing to a non-driving piece of technology. So if you're against foreigners, you should be 10 times fold against autonomous. If not, then all you're doing is just kind of circling the wheel. So my thing is the people that are in this industry, we got to respect them, and we got to teach them ourselves. We got to hold ourselves accountable. They allowed it.
we do.
You're not letting them victimize. So, and you can find this information on We the Truck. You can find every single congressman that is in your district on the transportation committees and send letters and saying, hey, you know what? We've had enough. We're going to start holding ourselves accountable and self-regulating down here on the bottom. And you know, you can go on there. You can tag yourself on Truck Stop. It's a great part of the website now that you can tag wherever you're at, close to the truck stop that you're at. So it's a good way to communicate. It's a good way to find the fellow driver that best aligns with you and communicate with them.
Which I will be walking everybody through this week. Thumper, bring us home, man.
Well, I really didn't get to say a whole lot that I wanted to say.
I'll give you
every time.
It's great discussion, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But first things first is one of the things I wanted to say was I never took a CDL school. Yeah. I lucked out and I got in before they made it mandatory, and I went. I'm self-learned and everything else, but I grew up around these trucks. So and the thing is, like, professional. Yes, that's a great word, but in my eyes, I will never, ever be a professional in this industry because I will never perfect. I will never know everything about this industry. And to me, a professional knows everything, and that's one thing. I am a commercial driver. That's kind of what I wanted to say, to touch on those stuff right there. You know, the schooling and stuff, is the schooling good? It can be if it's done right. Is it bad? You know, do we need it? You know, it's really on a person-to-person basis. Some people pick it up faster than other people. So, you know, it's hard to put an actual number on hours for the schooling and stuff like that. In my eyes, it really is hard. And on that note, I'm just going to keep it nice, short, and sweet. We had an awesome show. Thanks for everybody who showed up. Viewers, commenters, the panel, great discussion. And
those in backstage, stay around because we're not done yet. Keep going, something.
And not only that, you know, hey, thank a trucker. God bless all of us, you know, truck drivers, EMTs, firefighter, military personnel. Start showing them some love. You know, there are people out there who are defending for your freedom, and surprisingly or not, us truck drivers are defending your guys' freedom. It's our way to serve the country. So make sure you thank them, because if we don't haul it, you don't have it.
There you go.
And like, hey, you know what? Like Bo and I always say, you know, we don't.
Only got to reset one more time, buddy.
We don't do this just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
There you go. Don't forget, look for us on Frontline Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Till then, keep asking better questions, and by all means, keep it rolling.